The race for who gets the GOP nomination for governor is in full swing, and I'd like to pull the curtain back just a little bit to give you guys some examples of just how Casey Cagle would operate if he were to become governor. Let's start with the most blatant example, and the one you're probably most familiar with, and that would be the Delta NRA incident. This happened fairly early in the 2018 legislative session. The House had passed a bill that included a jet fuel sales tax exemption. Notice what I just said there and what I didn't say. The proposal was to eliminate the sales tax on all jet fuel, not just for Delta, but for all jets that use fuel purchased in Georgia. You may be asking yourself, why would we do that? And I would answer with this phrase, and hopefully you've heard this, but have you ever heard that corporations do not pay taxes, their customers do? What that means in this specific instance is that airlines do not pay jet fuel sales taxes. You do when you buy to fly on an airline. That airline passes that cost on to you, their consumer. By eliminating the sales tax on jet fuel, we cut taxes on you. And by making sure it applied for every airline, not just Delta, we were cutting taxes for all people who fly on any airline. So, enter Delta, which frankly has been a very loud political player in Georgia on a whole host of issues over the years, including fighting Georgia's efforts to deal with illegal immigration. They fought against the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, and they called for higher gasoline taxes to pay for infrastructure improvements. If you are a conservative like me, they're not exactly an innocent player here by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, they consistently fight against conservative ideals. So, right after the Georgia House votes overwhelmingly to eliminate the sales tax on jet fuel for you, the consumer, but before the Senate got a chance to vote on the bill, Delta decides to play in the arena of politics once again, this time by declaring they would no longer be offering a discount to NRA members. Now, that made a lot of folks upset, not the least of which was Lieutenant Governor Casey Cagle, who decided to take action and punish Delta by removing the jet fuel sales tax exemption from legislation and therefore killing it. He didn't even hide his motives here. He's blatantly pointing to Delta's action against the NRA as his reason for punishing Delta. Now, you might be sitting there saying to yourself, good for Cagle, that'll show him. No. First of all, that does exactly nothing to punish Delta. Delta will continue to pass that cost of the sales tax along to you, their consumer. Secondly, Cagle didn't just hit Delta. He swung at every single passenger on every single airline that flies in or out of Georgia. He's punishing you. And lastly, it's absolutely bone-chilling to realize that someone with that type of power would use it to shape the law to financially punish somebody that disagrees with them politically. Imagine for a moment you held a politically incorrect point of view. I mean, that's not really hard to imagine these days. Traditional values seem to be under attack. Now imagine that the government is going to blatantly punish you financially through the tax code because you held that viewpoint. Is that the role of government? I would submit to you that that's the action of a tyrant. It certainly is the action of somebody that has embraced the culture of retribution that we see so often in politics and needs to change. But that is not the only story of when Lieutenant Governor Cagle punished somebody in the political arena in a way that hurts you, the people of Georgia. I'll give you a quick second example, but rest assured, I can point out these types of stories all day long. There was an effort this year to expand access for medical cannabis for veterans that are returning home and are suffering with post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. When that bill passed the House overwhelmingly and stalled because of Lieutenant Governor Cagle's resistance, the bill sponsored, along with some community activists, called a press conference to urge Lieutenant Governor Cagle to move the bill. Among those at the press conference was State Representative David Clark, who was told later by a Cagle ally that Clark's other bill was dead as a result of his participation in the press conference. Clark's other bill was an effort to help those involved in youth sports to recognize and immediately tend to children that may have some sort of cardiac event during games and practices. It literally was a bill that was designed to save the lives of children, and Representative Clark was told that it was dead as punishment for speaking out in support of veterans suffering from PTSD. During a recent debate for the GOP nomination, Lieutenant Governor Cagle said that he tried to get that bill attached to something else, but they ran out of time. The problem with that claim is that it would have taken less time to simply call that bill to the floor for a vote in the Senate than it would have been to amend it onto another bill. He's banking on the fact that most Georgians don't know that. But it is another unnerving, bone-chilling, and frightening example of how Casey Cagle embraces and wields the culture of retribution and the power that comes with his office as a weapon that not only hurts his political enemies, but also you, the average Georgian. Don't be King Cagle's collateral damage. Let's retire the culture of retribution and move on to a brighter day in Georgia politics. Thank you for listening.